we're alive. So, welcome to our channel, Human Brain Expert channel, where we're talking about human brain, its wellness, longevity, and obviously health. And we today have a very interesting guest. Marilyn Nika is actually AI lead at Meta, and she has previously she's been working for Google, and she has a very specific, interesting product dedicated to AI product management, and we're going to talk about it today. And also, Marilyn Nika is very interesting persona type, and I really want to welcome her, and we just really want to say that we're grateful that she is was able to make it to talk to us today. So thank you for being with us today, Marilyn Nika. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Also, let's start with a very simple question. Why AI? Why did you decide to move to the space?
Thank you. This is a great question. So I've always been interested in technology, and growing up, I learned how to code when I was really young. When I was doing my master's, actually, there was a list of elective courses to take. And, there were things like bioinformatics and linguistics and computational linguistics. And one of them was AI. I wasn't very sure about what it entailed, but I actually loved computer games, and I loved playing strategy games. And specifically in strategy games, you would play with an opponent that would actually get better over time, or you would choose the difficulty level, and they would always win in the most difficult level. So I was very intrigued to learn more around how you can give intelligence to a machine to beat you at a game, or to perform a tedious task or solve some problem for the user. So it started when I was doing my master's ages ago, and I fell in love so much with this domain that I decided to do a PhD in computational science. It did involve, like, a small part of it was machine learning. And the rest is history, actually. The rest, after that, I was able to join Google, and worked in AI since 2013. And fast forward later, 10 years in, I've jumped from domain to domain, but within the AI space, and I've loved it. And I now get to teach AI product management, and I would love to talk about my courses there.
Awesome. So, interesting question is what's the difference? We know that, product management, it's a very popular topic, very popular subject matter. What differentiate AI product from the rest of the products? Yep. What do you think?
This is a good question. In AI product management, there's usually some technology that's already there. For example, generative AI. And as an AI PM, you're trying to figure out what problem to solve for the users so that you can leverage the technology that you already have. Now, sometimes there may be no problem, and you may just produce research for the sake of research, but some other times you have a true opportunity to solve some user problems in such smart ways that leverage AI. So I guess the summary is, you solve the problem, you're trying to identify products that will leverage this technology and find product market fit. Whereas the generic PM kind of works backwards. They're like, okay, what problems are there? What is it that I can solve? And then you try to figure out how to solve it. But the AI PM is already having the solution there, and they're trying to work backwards.
Working backwards?
Mm-hmm.
Can you give more details with example?
Yes, sounds good. So let's say with the generative AI, you have this concept of content getting created, whether content is text, image, or video. This is a cool technology, but what can you do it in the setting of business or in the day-to-day life of people? I think who has an incredible application for it is Adobe. So Adobe Firefly, it's a generative AI. It's technology where you can generate images by text. So what they did is they said, we're going to focus this for designers specifically, and we'll provide the ability for them to generate templates. So you'll write, hey, I want a template for an invitation for a party for kids, and you can generate like a template that you can then amend and change. So it gives you a head start. You can take it and you can kind of mold it and shape it in any way and form that you want it for your users. And this process of thinking through this way is what AI PMs are called to do every single day versus a generic product manager that doesn't have this generative AI technology to start with.
When we're talking about, technology,
What
do
was the
you?
question?
I'm, I'm saying you mentioned that the technology behind of AI, like how on on the position of AI product manager, how well you're supposed to know the technology? Do you have to be a coder? Do you have to know really well the programming, the actual logic behind of it?
Yeah, you should be able to understand the basics and, the basics of how model training works, the different types of algorithms, so that you can be able to make trade-offs when you create your strategic roadmaps. But you don't need to code. You don't need to, know the ins and outs. But on a higher level, you need to strategically be able to understand how things work.
Okay, talking about the products, give us example for what particular product you are working on currently, and what's the main difficulties you are facing.
I can't speak very specifically, but I can say that I focus on the 0 to 1 product world, meaning trying to figure out from scratch if and how to leverage a specific set of technology to solve user problems. So, trying to bring product to life, trying to find product market fits, and I do that within the metaverse world. And I just find it so fascinating. Like I really, really love it.
So, like talking about, because it's a very fascinating subject matter in terms of product market fit. What do you think is the main key for AI product manager in terms of like satisfying the demand, satisfying the need? What is the main? What do you think? What's the difficulties behind of it for you? Like,
Um,
and what's like, because it's very specific subject matter AI. You mentioned it's you mentioned already a lot of interesting details. So in terms of product market fit, what do you think is the most
yeah,
difficult part of it? Mm-hmm.
I think it's getting used to the notion that you'll have to pivot a lot and that you're going to have to make a hypothesis, test it, then scratch it, and then go back from scratch to start. So this kind of more vague culture, if you will, this experimental culture can be challenging, and it's not for everyone. So, I mean, I'm used to it at this point, but this whole having a team working on this one thing and then a month later you scratch it and you work towards this other thing and then you scratch it until you find the right thing to work on can be draining, can be difficult. But when you get it right, it's just really, really great because you're like, okay, now I'm sure I have enough validation, I have enough data points to say that, okay, I should move forward with this.
When you think that it works right, what is your main KPIs? What do you pay attention? What does it mean for you that it works right?
It means that I have enough conviction that if I move forward with implementing some vision I have, people will come and the product will be successful based on the metric that I have defined and set.
So metrics like basically participation, the amount of people, the traffic, what exactly?
Yeah, it depends on how you define it. Like if in hardware, you may have sales, you may have engagement, you may literally just have feedback as to how people feel about using it, like NPS scores, generic product health metrics. It totally depends on what it is you're trying to achieve.
Okay, understood. So talking about, I really want to discuss a little bit your product, your course you
Okay.
developed. Um, what is so special about it, and why do you think people should definitely go and enroll?
Thank you. So I have one very popular course on Maven. It's called AI Product Management. However, I'm now splitting it and I'm creating two courses. So one is going to be AI product management for beginners, people that want to understand, what we're talking about, like the basics, what algorithms to use, the product development life cycle. And then I have another course which is going to be advanced product management with AI and ML. That's going to dive deep into AI and ML. The reason I split them up is because I realized some people want to learn the weeds and dive into the technology and understand exactly, how to make the trade-offs we talked about, how to train a model themselves, how things work, so that they can then staff teams. So it's more targeted towards senior people, whereas the other course is more for beginners and aspiring product managers that are thinking to pivoting into this field from other things like engineering or business, or junior PMs that want to become AI PMs. So this is kind of the difference. And I'd love if I could have any people that are hearing now join us.
Are you targeting specific industry? Like, is it healthcare? Is it like financial?
No, it's generic, and we do go through many different products that are out there as real life examples, but no specific industry.
There's no specific industry. Okay, interesting. So, what is the the core of the course?
Yeah, it's understanding what the AI product management lifecycle looks like. How do you develop a product end to end, all the way from ideation to final rollout, and just measuring success and making sure your users are happy. So, how do you go about PMing each stage of this? What kind of technology do you need to know? How do you work with engineers and scientists? That's for the beginner course, and the advanced one is more like, okay, what type of algorithms can you use for each use case? What trade-offs do you need to make, and how are you an established leader, and how do you strategize when it comes to developing AI ML solutions?
Awesome. Sounds very interesting. How many people usually enroll?
So I've had like 300 people so far. It's usually cohorts of like up to 30 people.
That's a
And
lot. That's actually a lot because not that many people are willing to learn, and that sounds like really a lot. That's
yeah,
great.
it's great. And I love that people are so excited about these technologies. And, I'm adjusting my curriculum and syllabus to make sure to capture everything people would like to learn and what they're here to learn for.
It's very interesting to know your perspective on AI development in general. What is your opinion? What's your perspective, like, from from your point of view? What do you think, to which direction we are going, and what do you think, what kind of product we will more and more see, in the near future?
It's an interesting question. I mean, at its core, we're using the same coding languages and same algorithms, but we've started to see some incredible developments. For example, I think generative AI is just what's everywhere around the use, and what excites me the most. So I'm just very excited to see where this goes. But it's interesting, like a few years ago we were talking about NFTs, and now we're talking about, and then we're talking about the metaverse. Now we're talking about generative AI. So who knows what's next? But at its core, the skill set that you need and that you should learn is the same, so that you're bulletproof for what comes next, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. Very interesting question. Talking about generative AI, what is your opinion about the rights, the intellectual property?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been reading about that. It's interesting. If you generate an image, you completely own it at this point, and you can like sell it. However, if I'm an artist and I worked for years and my images were used to train this data, should I be okay with this? I was reading somewhere that they'll be able to figure out a way to, for every generated image, to figure out what percentage of each artist's work was used to generate it, and they'd be able to get like the royalties. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I need to read more about that. Yeah, my opinion is it was fascinating to see that I would own this work. Like I was just surprised to see that what I produce I own. Um, but yeah, I completely understand where artists are coming from, of course.
It's, yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's very nowadays, before AI, let's put it this way, there are lots of constantly happening, intellectual issues related to intellectual property. It's always like a big question in technology, especially nowadays. And with AI, when you have generative basically AI, then when a machine creates a unique product for you, the question the question is the whole idea of authorship. It's so blurred. I mean, that's so.
Yeah.
For me, it's absolutely unpredictable to which way we're going to. I mean, nowadays, can we even claim authorship? It's such a difficult subject matter.
Yeah, it's a very difficult subject matter. Still completely, blue sky. People are figuring it out. But yeah, I understand where artists are coming from. Like, I totally get
it. Okay, so talking about technology, what is your main interests now? What are you focusing? Are you like trying to gain new skills, or what is your perspective? What is your strategy about and your perspective on the technology development?
Yeah, I try to stay up to date. It's kind of tricky because technology is moving so fast. So I'm trying to make sure I have the right places to stay up to date on. Like, there's some newsletter I follow. I now have a newsletter and I write. I'd love if people would love to join it. It's a Substack newsletter.
Which one?
It's merrily.substack.com. So I would love if people just sign up. I also post opportunities.
It's interesting. I will sign up for sure. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I post opportunities about jobs as well, which is really interesting, and templates and so on. I don't code anymore. So I don't stay up to date with the actual pure technology. I do learn about new techniques, new groundbreaking things that came up, like in research. But when it comes to actually coding, I don't do it anymore. I mean, I do, like in my classes, I show people how they can train models. But yeah, I read a lot to stay up to date, to make sure I have the knowledge I need in order to be able to perform in my job and also in my every time I'm teaching.
Awesome. So tell us how people can find your course.
Yes. We can either post a link here, but if you go on my Substack, merrily.substack.com, I'm soon going to be making a post there with a discount as well for people that are following me. Or you can go on LinkedIn and find me. I have linked it right there. I'm also on Twitter, first name, last name. You're not going to miss it.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for your time. It was very, very interesting. I wish you all possible success in your future career development.
Okay. And good luck for you. Thank you so much.